All right. G'day, everyone. Rangadad here. This is not financial advice. This is just the way I'm looking at the market. Helps me get things clear in my head about what's potentially going to happen. And right now, it looks like we're actually going to push to the top of this channel on Bitcoin. Quite a strong push coming through just in the last half an hour. But I'll get to that in a sec. So just checking my streams okay. Yeah. All right. Basically, still in this bullish control zone on the stochastic. The reason I titled this video "Buy Signal Now?" question marks is we've actually got a buy signal on this bullish smart money indicator, which you can get a few of them, and you can get them at funny times as well. So you've got to be a little bit careful. Like that there long term, yeah, not a bad buy signal, but not if you're wanting to survive this. So I think cautious optimism at the moment. We are very low on this indicator though, and we are seeing a lot of strength on a lot of different, or for a lot of reasons. So it is looking more and more like a potential breakout. The more we go on with this rally, I still think it's going to get a fair chunk of resistance around here, but I don't expect the pullbacks to be anything huge. And the risk is, if you're waiting to buy Bitcoin for the long run on spot or something, the risk is you don't buy here and it never comes back to here in the next 12 months. Like the way to look at it is, do you want to buy here or do you want to buy after the breakout and potentially get reversed on anyway? So, we were calling for dollar cost averaging in this region. That would have been a good area for dollar cost averaging. If you're interested in some really, really cool fundamental analysis, well, not fundamentals as normal trading talks about it, but fundamental TA analysis, Crown's video that he put out with Fibo Swanee yesterday. Fibo Swanee, I got a lot of time for. His analysis have been so freaking accurate, both timing and targets. Now, he's not 100% accurate, but holy crap, like, given he's working on the higher time frames and stuff, like, he doesn't go any lower than about an hourly, but the projections are pretty spot on most of the time. You can get wicks below and all that sort of stuff of his levels, but like, he's catching big moves majority of the time. And we're still in the bullish control zone for him as well. He uses an RSI for that, but he used fib extensions for targets and buy areas and things like that. And he had a buy area in here. I think he's got another one, or he had another one in here. I don't know whether he managed to get it because that was a pretty quick move down. But extension wise, his target for this bull run is around I think it's 105 to 120 mark, which aligns with what we did yesterday, in terms of the way I was looking at it, as a 3-leg scenario. First leg, You got your bigger middle leg, which he actually also is looking at it this way. This is a fairly common TA technique. You basically get 3 pushes up. The third one, or the middle one's normally the biggest. First and the third are normally pretty similar. So that gives us a target of around that 105, 107 mark. I did some fib extensions yesterday as well, which sort of led to the same sort of region on one of the targets around that 120 mark. Yeah, just go check out that video because he gives a timeline as well, and he's looking at late January for the top, which also aligns pretty well with what I've been thinking lately. Just based on the fact that markets, before a big drop, markets tend to actually peak around Christmas or just after Christmas. They tend to start dropping in January, quite often anyway. And just given the typical cycle of a US election would suggest we get that run up into the end of the year after this flush out that's happening on the US stocks, which looks like it may already be over, but we'll get into that as well. And then essentially after Christmas, the shit hits the fan, and that would be an interesting time for it to peak. Now, he's also suggesting the low after that, I think, was in April next year, but no, it might have been 2026. Anyway, good video. Go watch it out. Yeah, go watch it. So, pullbacks are still likely to be met with buying demand at the moment. Now, interestingly, we've still gone back into a red day so far today, but as you can see, like the sell-offs, if we close above this Gaussian channel, then yeah, this is the next sort of target up around the 71K mark, thereabouts. I would expect a pullback there, but so hard to short this sort of market. Like Bitcoin can just grind straight up through that. Maybe with a bit of chop like this, you can get on once Bitcoin decides to go bull, you don't necessarily get pullbacks like you normally would. It's sort of grind up and chop up. Same here, sort of you get some sideways action maybe. I mean, shorter time frames, that's a pretty big pullback, but longer term time frames hard to pick. We'll just go back to the last real breakout. Same sort of thing. It had a run up, broke that Gaussian channel. It actually struggled around the top of that Gaussian channel, and we may still see some of that here, but it's looking very strong at the moment. But as you can see, just sort of grind up, bit of a pullback there. That was, I think, close to the previous all-time high. This was around the last all-time high before it actually broke out. So once you see a big daily candle like that above the previous all-time high, that's when we can start to really get excited, I think. And that's when you'll probably see the run up to the next top. I would fully expect a potential for a double top like this as well. Once we do get to that top, potentially with this breakout level being that pullback, before we get into a full bear market again. But it seems like it's come up quicker than expected. This is definitely different to anything that's happened before. I mean, the double top was different as well. So it's looking still very bullish. go quickly to the Qs. So the Qs have bounced off that 50 or thereabouts. In the bearish control zone still, so wouldn't get too excited yet. 1.5% on the day is nothing to sneeze at though, so it does suggest a bit of strength, a bit of accumulation there. Same with the S&P 500, but the S&P has only really bounced off the 20 by the look of that. Yeah, it's hasn't confirmed below the 20. This will be nuts if that's all the pullback we get. We're easily going to 6,000 by the end of the year. Nvidia has had a bounce. That's surprising, hey. Could just be a retest of this 20. Close the gap. I don't know if it has actually closed that gap. No, it hasn't. Surprising that it didn't close that gap, but I would expect this just to be a retest of that. Most of these are closing just above the wick of that last candle there, so could be a bit of a, I wouldn't say dead cat bounce because the thing's not dead, it's just a retrace, but could just be a little bounce into here to suck in some more long liquidity and then come back down into that 50 or thereabouts, somewhere around here. RSP's got some strength as well, so that'll be holding things up. Again, money movement around the different sectors is causing a lot of this. IWM didn't get the fullback for the full pullback that we thought it might. But that's a very strong candle. So again, IWM target is around 230. XLY, XLP, that's a good bounce as well. So suggesting there's strength in the market to support it. DJR gold is breaking to the upside. So, well, not breaking, but it's heading to the upside. Gold is weakening. Dixie looks like this could have just been a retrace into that. We might go up another little bit just to retest this 200 again, but we have had 2 tests on it in the last week, so we don't necessarily have to do that. It is below the bottom of that Gaussian channel still, so targets on Dixie is still 101-ish, 102. VIX, oh, they didn't correct that. That's a wicked candle on the VIX. VIX needs to pop again. I mean, that's a nothing area for the VIX to turn around in. It is suggesting potentially we go into another bull run. Just the size of that candle to the downside. You can get chopped on the VIX on the way up. That's entirely possible, but it's just the size of that drop is pretty significant. If we have another sort of inside day in here, which would be just sort of a nothing day, less than 1% either way on the NASDAQ or the SPY, then the VIX doesn't clear below that 200, then we could bounce back up just to finish off the retrace that we're expecting, but that's an ominous sign in terms of likely more up. Interesting. Treasuries are down. High yield is still holding up, so we did get basically a retest of that previous high, at least into the 78 there, that 800 EMA. It doesn't really respect the 800 too much though, so probably wouldn't pay too much attention to that. High yield is probably going to 79, which would suggest there is strength in the markets and people are expecting markets to keep going. Interesting though, if the skew's not following this. Again, that kind of just supports the theory that the market may just be having a little bounce here before going down further. So skew doesn't think, it doesn't believe the bounce. Have to see what happens there, but copper's still struggling. So again, copper's suggesting weakness in the market. 200 EMA has been hit. That was our target back when we were coming down through here, but we got an unexpected bounce through the middle of it. So look for a turnaround on copper. When we get a turnaround on copper, that'd be suggesting that the market will generally turn around at the same time. Gold, retest that 20. I'd love to see gold bounce here. That would be pretty phenomenal because I think we would very quickly go to 2600. Which would be good for my super account. Silver is not playing ball though. Silver has broken some pretty key levels here. Little bit of a bullish hammer here, but like to close it positive, which it's probably not going to do. So silver may come back down to these levels here, retest the 21.1. Aussie dollars struggling. Japanese. Yeah, the yen's being held at the moment. Looks like they're still intervening a little bit. Geez, the Aussie dollar. I am surprised it didn't reach for that 68.5 level. That's a big sell-off though. What's it dropped? It's dropped nearly 0.5% in a day. Big move for the Aussie. Down 2.5% in a week. 200 is going to be a key level here. It does tend to respect the 200 a bit. Looking for a bounce off that with more weakness in the Dixie would make sense. Euro, I think, yeah, Euro's looking to reconfirm that 800 EMA by the look of it. So yeah, maybe another down day on Euro and Aussie versus the Dixie. So it could just be sort of sideways chop for the Dixie for another day. And then you'd be looking for the Dixie to go down and Euro and Aussie to go up. Brazilian is retesting these sort of levels, these low levels. Geez, that's not a good looking bounce on the Brazilian real. Normally I'd expect that to follow through further down, but if it can find support here, that's going to be not a bad W pattern either. So I don't see a world anytime soon where the Brazilian real gets back above 18 or 18.9 cents. 2-year, 10-year. So we've retested that trend line. So we have pretty well confirmed that break below the trend line. Strong sell-off today by the look of that. Well, it's not a sell-off, but yeah, 2-year is not moving as much as the 10-year, which have both had slightly green days. Percentage of stocks above the 50 is still coming down. So it's an interesting breadth read considering we've had a pretty positive day on NASDAQ and SPY, S&P 500. We are still in a general uptrend on the global liquidity as well, this orange curve here. So suggesting the whole run is being supported with liquidity. Or they're trying to prevent a massive drop, put it that way. US oil looks like it's probably going to come down a bit further. This would be a good time for it to bounce. If we throw a fib on this run, sitting right at the 0.5 there. Somewhere between here and 77 would be a good bounce point. This is also a pretty high volume area where it is now, so oil could potentially bounce here. Although on the macro, on the weekly, it's probably putting in a lower high here, so we could potentially be coming back down to 67-ish as well. The market doesn't seem to be caring about oil at the moment. It's not going in lockstep with that at all. Paying less attention to it at the moment. Mag 7 looks like just a retest of the 20 from the downside, which could support the theory that we can go a bit lower. ASX. If materials push higher from here, ASX does likely push up to this target of 8,200. I would expect the US market to go with it though, so that's kind of not necessarily in confluence with the whole. We've still got more pullback to come. Have a quick look at BTC. Oh, that's long on that. Sorry. Bitcoin longs is flat, which when that starts to flatten off like this, you do actually expect a little bit of a pullback. There's not a huge sell-off. It's just there's not many people going long at this point, which suggests we may have a little bit of a pullback soon. But the chart's not necessarily telling us that yet. ETH BTC, so ETH's actually coming back in relation to BTC, broken down below this level. So it looks like this would suggest that BTC is going to go on a bigger run than ETH at the moment. Which could be, if the ETH ETF starts trading, we may actually see a pullback on ETH. Like run up into a major event typically leads to a pullback once that event happens. You always got to be kind of mindful of that. And yeah, it's looking like it's finding a fair bit of resistance at this level, which has been a pretty major volume level. So it would make sense. Bitcoin dominance, yeah, it's going up. ETH dominance going down. Have a quick look at Sol. So Sol, as we said, last week sometime, Sol was making pretty nice W pattern here. It did go up, it came back down, retested this level here that we were talking about, and yeah, nice move to the upside. Hopefully some of you grabbed that one. Let's just see if we think it's done yet. It's tough whether you go off bodies of candles or the wicks. For me, it kind of depends on the pattern that I'm seeing. If there's wicks that make more sense when you're drawing trend lines and stuff, then yeah, I'll go with wicks. If it's the bodies that make more sense and have a clearer trend, then I go with the bodies. I'm not too worried either way. So this is suggesting maybe 189. If we were to go off the wicks, let's just call it. Probably looking at 195, 196, which would mean a breakout of this level as well. In which case we're probably even going to go higher than that. But you'd expect sort of you'd expect a breakout of that level to look something like this, come into those all-time highs, or not, and then something like that. So this region here will probably be a pullback around the 200 to 205-ish. To me, that would make a lot of sense for Sol, and then that would see Sol run up with Bitcoin, I would suspect. Poor old ETH is not getting as much love as Sol at the moment, I don't think. Sol looks like a pretty decent play into the next bull run. Matic coming off the lows. Ooh. That's Jesus. This is interesting. So we've got a lot of shitcoins struggling to get off their lows when Bitcoin's run like that. I would actually expect this to be a pretty decent run on Bitcoin at the moment. There's nothing to suggest otherwise. All the coins from previous cycles, BNB's kind of going with it, but ish. Like they're all still pretty low. They're certainly not pushing all-time highs, which is not a bad thing. We want to see Bitcoin run first and actually break out, have a really good run, and then we want to see the move into the alts. But you're probably going to see it moving into Sol quicker than ETH this run, I would suspect, just based on what we're seeing at the moment. Yeah, these are all lagging, which is, I actually like that. That means we're going to get a chance to buy these things at reasonable discounts. Or low. Link, yeah, interesting. Doge, yeah, they're all struggling to keep up, which is interesting. All right. I think that's about it. I think my chat's working, but I'm also not sure about that. If anyone's actually trying to message me in chat, I don't know that I actually have visibility of it. Anyway, so I guess the main thing here, longer term timeframes are looking quite bullish. I'll just come back to the 15-minute, where it's there. So this was a pretty good run up. I've tweaked this 15-minute one, so I couldn't get rid of that. That was just a bullshit move on the part of Biden to decide to stop running just after we've opened fucking a double long. Anyway, but yeah, if I had these tweaks in, we would have copped a pretty nice run up there. All I did was just remove a couple of bits of confluence, and it's actually improved the drawdown on the back testing and stuff. So hopefully that'll improve the bot, the 15-minute bot, a little bit. Still doesn't trade that much more frequently. It's just better trades by the look of it. Yeah, fair bit of strength coming off this level here. So a lot of reset on the different indicators. I'm a little disappointed the confluence wasn't right for a long here. That's a pretty strong signal for a long. But at the same time, the long time frame, so the 8-hour CCI, is still sort of trending downwards. But yeah, 5-minute, not a bad trade there. I'm pretty happy with that entry. Still want to be trying to get the bot to enter more in here, but working on that code at the moment. But yeah, short term, it's kind of looking pretty bullish. We've cleared this previous high in here, so high on the shorter time frames. If we clear this 68,500, say, then I think 71k is probably the next target. 7,500 to 71. So hopefully we can do it in one hit rather than chopping around like a bitch that it's been doing. Yeah. I think that'll do. It doesn't look like my chat is actually working. I don't know freaking why. Anyway. All right. Catch you tomorrow.